Hello, my name is Georgie. I'm also known as Crafty Road Gamer, and welcome to my channel. A very warm welcome if you've been here a while or if it's your first time watching. Thank you so much if you've newly subscribed. I know we've had a few more people sort of come in and hit that button. It's great to have you here. Welcome. And of course, thank you so much if you choose to spend your time with me and you've stuck with me and you keep coming back. You've been around for a long time for, well, whatever this ends up being, which is normally a hot mess express. Recently anyway. So today's video title is brought to you by The Night is Banger by Gina G. Ooh ah, just a little bit, which I think won Eurovision. Yeah, do like a bit of Eurovision in this house. JC's not too keen on it, but I can't have everything in a partner, can you? Anyway, if you thought you were going to click on this and it'd be something a bit more risque and filth, shame on you, but thank you for clicking. And I called it this because it's not been too long since I last saw you, so I have just a little bit more stitching to show you. Not loads, just a little bit. Housekeeping, I have locked myself in the office again, so there are no animals lurking to interrupt. There was a Rocky abandoned me for biscuits downstairs. I'd abandoned me for biscuits, to be fair, so can't really blame him. So yeah, we are animalless. And as usual, if you see anything on the screen, my lovely other half JC edits my videos, so that'll be his contribution. So today we are wrapping up January in this Flosstube, and we're going to probably put in a teeny bit of February stitching because we are on the 4th of February today. So I thought we'd go January stats, Flosstubers, finishers, but not dwell on them because if you watch my last video you've seen them quite recently, potentially. Works in progress, sneaking in a bit of February stitching, purchases, not loads, plans, we have plans, life stuff and other stuff. Everything is always time-stamped, so if you want to skip bits, feel free to, but grab a drink, put your feet up, grab your stitching, and let's begin. My computer just blue screen of death me. We got quite far in. Can't recover the video. The file's corrupt. So we're going to start again. Almost like the time I did the whip parade with no volume. Apart from that was a lot better than what I'd just done. Like, that was hilarious and I was funny and I was on form. But yeah, how rude. My PC's making a start again. But it's okay. I've grabbed all my stuff. We're alright. So I changed it up. I'm going to still change it up. We're going to do Flosstubers first and then we're going to do January stats because it felt a bit disjointed doing the January and then doing Flosstubers and then going back to the stuff I actually stitched in January. So Flosstubers, I like to watch Flosstube channels from start to finish where I can. So I've been making sure that if anyone is kind enough to leave a comment on here on YouTube, or if we comment or sort of chat in Instagram in the comments there, that I add you to the list and I work my way through. Obviously it can just take a bit of time because of how I like to watch things. Please don't do that with me. Like, don't watch Flosstube 1 and go from there. Crikey. Yeah, no, okay. I mean, not that it's a finely tuned and polished machine right now, but it possibly could have been worse than what this is. And this is pretty bad sometimes. But anyway, so I've only got one Flosstuber who I've managed to do this with in the sort of space of time that we've been apart. So that is Crafty Yams. So Crafty Yams is Miriam and is self-described as a crazy plant craft cat lady. So we get along well, apart from I don't do too well with plants. Like, they don't do too well with me. I was going to say I'm not some kind of plant serial killer, but I guess I am. But not intentionally, okay? So there are loads of plants, and prior to Flosstube there are like sort of plant videos as well, and it's all amazing stuff. I'm very envious of people who have green fingers and thumbs because I have black ones of death when it comes to keeping things alive that are flora. Fauna I do alright with. Flora not so much. But yeah, anyway, there are birds as well. There are budgies and birds, and it's amazing and I love watching the videos. I don't think I've seen any Flosstube pets of Flosstube birds before, possibly, I don't think so. But anyway, actually about the stitching. So Miriam is a craftivist, and there are lots of important messages and information on the channel as well, and I think that's really important if you have a platform, whether you are a smaller sort of in terms of like subscribers or numbers or viewers, or if you are larger. It doesn't matter if you've got something that's close to your heart or something that you feel is an important message to get across, you really, you know, you use your platform however big or small it is. So I watch all videos all the way through regardless, and yeah, there is some very sort of important information and messages in Miriam's channel. In terms of the stitching, I got introduced to a new term, DFFO, displayed fully finished object. We don't have many of those in this house. I can't even get FFOs, never mind DFFOs. But I quite liked the terminology, quite like the abbreviation. So yeah, if I ever do any, I might adopt that. Thank you. I love the projects on there. So I absolutely love the videos in general. It's lovely and chill atmosphere, but there are fantastic projects too. We're talking a variety. So there's everything from Lola Crow, we know how I feel about Lola Crow, to modern primitive, and I don't think there's as many full coverage as not, but they're all fantastic. And for me personally, like I've been enabled, so I'm not a primitives or modern primitive kind of gal, but I have been umming and ahhing over the spooky sampler. I'll ask JC to pop a picture up, but I think that's now definitely going on the list because I've seen it being stitched in here. So yeah, crafty yams, go over, check them out, and yeah, you're going into my regular rotation now because I've thoroughly enjoyed everything that I've seen, and thank you very much for your videos and the information that you use your platform for. So for me now, it's January starts. I haven't got anyone else. Like I haven't even started watching anyone else. I don't think I have. Yeah, no, I haven't got any other people to mention because I've been a bit slacking in that department. Talk about it later. So I have January stitched on 28 days worth of stitching. Stitched on 20, that's terrible English. That's okay. Wind it back. We'll start again. So I have stitched for 28 days in January. I've got a typo that says I've done 20,129 stitches, and I got a bit excited when I saw that, even though I typed it and I know that's wrong. I was like, oh, 20,000. Like, no, I've done 10,129 stitches, which is still nothing to be sniffed at, which I'm really, really happy with that. However, it was more exciting when it was 20. that was better. I've worked on 3 projects, and I've got in that 2 new starts and 2 finishers. So we'll have a look at the finishers first, but we're not going to dwell on them, like I say, because if you watch Flosstube 13, there's a lot of information in there, and I talked about them quite a lot because I'd done them then. But we'll have a look at them now just for the sake of a wrap up, basically, and because I mentioned that I've got 2 finishers. So my first finish is Circus. I finished this on the 14th of January 2024, and I started it on the 1st of January. So it was my accidental New Year start because I don't particularly do like New Year, New Start. However, I wanted it to be sort of a clean slate in terms of like my whip parade and the projects I was carrying over and things like that. So that's why I did it. I guess that's probably why a lot of Flosstubers do it, and a lot of people do it, because at least you know if you're going to be doing something and filming something over a few days. Yeah, that makes sense. Maybe it'll be a thing now. We'll see. So, Circus. The designer is Urban Stitchers. The fabric is 16 count Elephant Run Ada, which is an offcut left over from my Lola Crow stitch along, because that's the called for fabric on that by Fox and Rabbit Designs. It's using the called for DMC. It's stitched 2/1, and the stitch area is 154 wide by 104 high, and there's 5,187 stitches in it, apart from there's not, okay? Because I don't like 16 count. I love this fabric and I love how this looks, but my brain is used to 18 count, and my brain and my hands were trying to stab holes where the 18 count holes were, and they weren't, because this is 16 count. So I was trying to make my own holes, and yeah, that was frustrating. Also, the coverage on this, I like 18 count 2 threads over 1 cross because of the coverage. So it was a bit gappy in some places for me. I know everyone's like, hold it back and you can't see, and it's like, that's fine, but I can see now because it's in my hands. So in terms of, there we go, in terms of like coverage, I have over stitched the top leg of some places just to make sure that, I mean, I can still see some bits. I think I did this last time. I need to stop looking at it like that. So yeah, there'll probably be a few more stitches than the actual stitch count in it. But yeah, I'm super happy with that. I loved it. I did colour completion. I did all the black first, and then I treated myself doing the colour, but it looks amazing. Such a good design, and the story time behind it is the saying, not my circus, not my monkeys, is something that's said quite a lot in this house, especially in terms of work. So when I saw Urban Stitchers yield the interpretation of that, had to have it, stitched it for JC, and as you can see, we're doing really well in getting it into an FFO, because I finished it on the 14th of January. He said, let's get it in a frame, and we're on the 4th of February, and there we are. Still finished, just not fully finished. It will be at some point. Right, okay, I did this last time, okay. You won't have seen that, obviously, because it corrupted the video, but I started stacking stuff over there, and then it slipped, and it went behind there, and then we had like a fudge moment, so it's going there. That can be a different pile that slips. Okay. So finished size for that is about 9.5 by 6.5 inches, which is 24 by 17 centimetres, so it's lovely. It's nice size, lovely piece, really enjoyed it. So yeah, if you want to know more about this in the next finish, then if you go back to Flosstube 13, I think I waffled on a bit more about them, but I've said the same things pretty much, just like not as concisely. I don't do well with concise. That was quite concise. Don't normally do well with it. Anyway, I do well with rambling and tangents. How's that? Okay, there we go. So the next finish I finished on the 21st of January, and it was started on the 26th of December 2021. So, story time, in brief. Mothman is one of my favourite cryptids, like top 3, Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, Mothman. Not necessarily in that order. I do have other favourite cryptids as well, but I go with that. So when Wolfpack Creations said they were doing a Mothman stitch along, I was totally in for it. I was doing really well until the last release, and then Mothman appeared. And the issue that I had was my problem. The pattern was absolutely fine, and the Mothman looked great, and I'm going to get JC to put a picture up here of what it should have looked like when it was done. However, that wasn't the Mothman that I saw in my head. That wasn't my interpretation of Mothman. I know Mothman's not necessarily real, but that wasn't what I saw. So I got a bit disheartened. I tried to fudge it and pattern it out to make it more what I saw, but then I abandoned it because, well, it was hard. Like, respect to pattern designers for getting what's in your head down onto paper, so to speak, or digital, and then actually like stitching it up and it looks like what you wanted, because it's hard. So it got put away until I sucked it up as part of my 2024 plans and part of Instagram poll of people going, work on something you've already started. Thanks, folks. And this is what we've got. So this is my Mothman. I'm 90% happy with it, as in, like, it's more what I see in my head, but to translate that from my head to my hands to the cloth was hard. So yeah, I'm happy with it, and you see, I say I'm 90% happy with it. I don't know what I could have done to make it much better to fit in the space. that it's actually in. It looks more like bulky in the body, less like an actual man. And you can sort of see I missed the Men in Black out of the bottom there, because although it's part of the legend, I don't know, I wasn't that fussed about it. Adding them in. Had I known that, I would have sized it better on the Ada, because this is my favourite Ada that you can't get anymore. This is 18 count Claire Brown X Stitch Grey Clouds Ada. Claire Brown doesn't trade anymore, and yeah, that's slightly frustrating. However, I love the pattern, I love how different it is. It's just the Mothman wasn't my Mothman. However, this is like 90% my Mothman in the space that I had left. It's using the DMC threads that are called Thought Apart From. I did a bit of a grey conversion here on Mothman. I freehanded it. I ended up abandoning it. I think the issue was I tried to do a pattern for it, and I shouldn't have done, because I'm not a pattern designer and my head and my hands weren't cooperating. So I just freestyled it in the end, and it took a lot less time. I sort of like, it's symmetrical, so I sort of like mirrored it and did like some stuff on one side and some stuff on the other to try and keep that symmetry. In terms of a stitch count, the original is 149 wide by 189 high, which means, like, so my actual size is about 8 by 8¼ inches, so 21 by 20 centimetres, but I think it should be a bit, well, I know it should be a bit bigger. It should be about 10.5 inches or 26 centimetres in length. But yeah, I am really happy with it. I know I said like I'm like 90% happy with it, but the 10% isn't, it's me, okay? It's not anything to do with what I've done. It's just like how I've been able to do it. So yeah, Mothman Stitch Along, Wolfpack Creations, fantastic stitch along. Absolutely love the different style. If go check out Wolfpack Creation, all their stuff is different, like good different in terms of, like, you know what a design looks like you know, well, I know something is Lola Crow, and like, you know something is Witchy Stitcher, or you know something is Night Spirit Studio, or like that kind of thing. You can look at a Wolfpack creation and it looks like it's that because of the style, and you know, I really did love doing this and enjoy doing it. So that was my second finish that was put off way too long, because the actual stitch along finished, it was monthly releases starting November 21 and it finished in May 22. So it's been quite a while coming, but we're there. Okay, so January work in progress. I don't know if I've mentioned this, because it might have been in the video that got my computer ditched for me, but like, I just feel weird because I went to the hairdressers and they cut my hair and done stuff to it, but like, they styled it and I didn't style it, so my hair looks weird. Like, I know it looks alright because like that's their only job and they do it really well, but like, it's not how I do it. So that's slightly off-putting. Anyway, January work in progress. So if you've watched Flosstube 13, again, you'll have seen this. However, there is progress on it. So story time, I've got it's not just a bag, it's overflowing now into a bag and a pile, but I've got a sort of a judgy bag of stuff that sits there and judges me downstairs where my stitchy spot is, and I basically keep adding things to it that are either, well, no, it's got works in progress in it, to be fair, but it's got a lot of things that I want to start in there, or like fabrics ready for new starts. And the issue is not a lot of stuff gets started or worked on from it, so that's why it's a judgy bag. It sits there and the Murlocs on it stare at me going, why haven't you started any of these things? So when I finished Circus, when I finished Mothman, I was like, right, what are we going to do? So I've only got two, no, that's a lie. That was a lie. I've only got 2 works in progress. I've only got 2 inactive works in progress that I really want to get back into sort of stitching, and that's Cryptids and Finding Fantasy. And my other works in progress are in there that I've already started, so the ones that were in the sort of the whip parade, like my Pokemon and all that kind of thing, so they're all in there. But there is other stuff too, and that other stuff has been languishing for quite a while. So I went through the bag, I pulled out some stuff that I'm like, you know what, I don't want to stitch on that right now, and then I managed to shove some more of the stuff in that I do want to stitch from the overflow pile. However, There are a few reasons why I pulled this one out. The main reason is that my mum collects crystals, like big style collects crystals. So it's her birthday in April and I can totally get this done by April. Absolutely. I can. Stitch Pal says so. So that was reason number one. However, from a volume and space point of view, it's got quite a few threads. Like the fabric's quite thick and chunk. It's a decent sized piece of fabric. So it will clear space when it's done, and it'll clear a nice like sort of chunk of space. From a point of seeing it as well too, my friends Nat and Joe have finished it. So Stitch So Nat is one of my, what I consider as a Flosstube friend, because we have a bit of banter now and I really enjoy talking to Nat. So Nat from Stitch So Nat and my friend Joe, Stitch Cat Lady, have finished this. Now I've seen Joe's in person at one of the retreats that we attend, and I have only seen Nat's virtually, but they both look really cool. And to be fair, I bought it, yeah? So okay, that was a wide, broad, sweeping statement. So I was going to say I bought it, so I obviously want to stitch it. That's not necessarily the case sometimes. However, I definitely did want to stitch this. So here we have the crystallized stitch along. It is, the designer is Oksana Polyakova, but it was released by Lakeside Needlecraft. So it's a hefty piece of fabric. And I think I still had it in the Q-snap last time. But this is sort of what we're talking and where we've got them. Okay, so I'll come in close in a second, but it's on a, it's getting me, the fabric's like making me eat it. I started it on the 24th of January 2024, and it was originally a stitch long that was 1st of January 2022 until the 28th of October 2022, and it was in 12 parts. So a tiny smidge behind, but we're doing it. It's okay. It's on an 18 count opalescent white Zweigart Ada with the call for DMC. So if I come in, do an extreme close up, this is how far I've gotten. So I've stitched the Larimar, and that was what I was working on when I was when we did Flosstube 13, and I've started on the Malachi, and I'm having quite a bit of fun with this because I'm colour completing, and also on both the advice of Nat and my common sense head, I'm back stitching as I go along, because there is back stitching in this and it is real. I mean, it's not as bad as some things, but it's that whole thing when you get to the end, do you really want to go back and do everything? The answer's no, you don't, because when all the crosses are in, that means it's finished, and then you sort of start to resent it. Well, this is the way my head works anyway. So in terms of how big it's going to be, the stitched area is 180 wide by 240 high. So on my 18 count, that's putting it at 10 by 13.5 inches, which is 25 by 42. I am following the stitch along. So I'm, in terms of the crystal releases, I'm following it in that order. However, if there's any bits, like these sort of like crystals and things here that are on, I've loaded the whole thing into Pattern Keeper, so if there's any decorative stuff that I can get done while I'm sort of working in that general area in the Q-snap, I am doing it regardless of which part of the release it was. But in terms of these, I'm having fun colour completing, and I'm sort of having fun doing as I go. It is good. I'm enjoying it. I don't count the back stitch in my stitch total, so I'm currently on 2,867 stitches, which is 13.64%. I think the last time you saw it, I was only on, should have written this down, I was only on about 200 odd stitches, and it was like 1% or something, so it's a big difference. But there you go. One last look. Well, JC will have put everything in by now. It's really good. Even when I don't do the pointy fingers thing, he really picks up on like what it should look like and the bits that I've done previously. So yeah, Crystallized Stitch Along by Lakeside Needlecraft. Quite enjoying it. It's one of the reasons I wanted to film. Well, one of the reasons I wanted to film is because I said I would, and I promised myself I am doing these things, as well as promising everyone else but I wanted to start stitching back on that again because I've sort of been holding off, but not really, but there was something else I wanted to stitch on as well. So that's it in terms of my January stitching. So we're going to sneak in a little bit of February because I've got a story. Also got a dry mouth. Okay, so my February stitching has been the Odyssey Stitch Along. Now this is by Quaternion Creations, the designer, and it started to be released on the 27th of September and it's going well the 14th of February, and I actually picked it up and started it on the 8th of November. I adore this stitch along. So I picked it up for a few reasons. Firstly, because I wanted to sort of pause on that until I filmed. Secondly, I lost track of time and I was sort of on track in terms of I'd stitched everything up until the current release, and then last week another one came out with like, oh pants, that means I'm behind and I need to stay up to date on a stitch along, because that's one of my promises to myself, for one of my goals for this year is to keep up with one stitch along. So, and I had kind of missed stitching on it as well. So I picked it up and everything was going fine. I made a start. So this is the release that I stitched, and I made a start here and went up to about here, and I followed the border. Now, if I will have mentioned this in a previous video, I'm sure, but if you follow me on Instagram as well, I've mentioned how pleased I am that everything seems to line up in terms of the border because I stitched that first. Now, I wasn't overly smug about this. I was just pleased that everything lined up. So I stitched this bit here and I stitched this bit here, and then I sort of went over here and I was doing this bit here, and I was like, right, count the gaps, 1, 2, 3. That's what Pattern Keeper said. Count the gaps on here, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I checked everything I'd done. I double checked like the zigzags, like 2 here and 1 here and blah 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 and da da da, and it was right. So when you've double and triple checked what you've actually stitched, where you've started, and when you've gone off the border, if what you've stitched is right, that means your border's wrong. And infuriatingly, it was off by 1 row, which is totally my fault. In terms of counting and in terms of thinking everything will be fine. So yeah, I wasn't upset. Like, I was that not upset about it. I've not even told JC. Like, that's how much I wasn't raging about it, because I figured wherever I'd gone, it'd be a fairly easy-ish fudge. And the bit where I'd gone wrong was from here, like down here. So in this one, there's 3 rows of 4, and I'd done 4 rows of 4, and that's where it was wrong from off there. So everything from here up was absolutely fine. It was like from this bit here that I'm fairly sure that that's wrong, and then there's nothing else after that. So we're just sending out vibes about this bit being okay and we're not having to do this, because I don't mind redoing that, and I've already redone all this. But we don't want that bottom edge wrong as well, because that'd just be frustrating. But anyway, even apart from all that, so I started, then I counted off here and double checked, and then went that way, and everything's fine that way. Even with all of that, I love this, and I've not timed it out, and I've done it, and cause I love doing this so much. The fabric is gorgeous. The fabric is by Luella's Fabrics on Facebook. It is burnt savannah, 35 count linen, and it is beautiful. It's been picked up fairly true to colour, and that combination with the black, so it's just 310 and 304, black and red. I love how it looks. In terms of how quickly it stitches up and the design, I'm big into classics and history. It's like part of my education, like one of my degrees, and I love anything like this. And yeah, so when Quaternion Creations, when there's an Odyssey, and there's an Odyssey stitch along based on the Odyssey, Homer's Odyssey, like, yeah, I'm absolutely in. So I'm stitching it 2/2 on the linen. The stitched area is 178 wide by 231 high, so for me, on my count, that is 14¼ by 18½ inches, which is about 36 by 47 centimetres. So let's do an extreme close-up. Well, I suppose we could do an extreme close-up, but I haven't, like, there might be like hairs in it and stuff from the cats. Probably not the corgis, because the corgi ones are easy to locate. It's washing it out a bit there in terms of the colours. Come back a bit, it is beautiful and I do love it. Stitch count, I don't know yet because it's not finished, but each release is about 700 to 1200 stitches ish, so we'll probably will we top the 10k mark? I don't know. So I'm currently on 8,000. We will do, yeah, I'm on 8,304. I'm at the point of the current release, so I'm going to finish stitching this over the next couple of days. So I knew there'd be a hair. And then, yeah, there'll be one part after that that's released on the 14th of February. So I am going to keep up to date on this, and I am going to finish this on time because I love it so much. Not that I don't love anything that I don't finish on time, just I promised myself I'd keep up with one thing, and I'd love this to be the thing that I kept up with. I will do story time with it, so when it's finished we can talk about the releases and the story of the Odyssey if you want. Oh, hang on, that's my mum phoning. 2 ticks. Hello. I'll try again. Hello, I'm back. I can't remember where I was. I was wrapping up the Odyssey stitch along, which I absolutely love. That was what I was doing. Okay, so yeah, if you want to know what each part was and what the story is, I was going to do a story time when it's finished, but Quaternion Creations does a fantastic Instagram post to accompany each release. So check that out as well if you're on Instagram. But yeah, there we go. Odyssey stitch along, Quaternion Creations. Currently, well, we'll be working on part 9, and then part 10, the final release, is going to be released on the 14th of February. So there we go. Right. Purchases. Right, I've been fairly good in the grand scheme of things. I've got needs, sort of needs, rather than wants. I mean, like, in terms of stitchy stuff, I've been really good, and that's the case. But in terms of, like, gaming, not so much. Definitely wants there, not needs. But anyway, I've just been playing with this. So this is one of the, not a need, but a tryout. So, a Bobbies from Amazon. There we go. So you might have seen people using those with their stitching when they're doing full coverage and parking. So that was, I'll have to put it down because I've been playing with it while I've been on the phone with my mum. So I'm going to put that down. But I got those from Amazon. It was a pack of 8. And parking stresses me out. Or it did used to stress me out because all the threads hanging everywhere wasn't for me. However, I've seen a lot about Royal Rose, and I don't know if that's for me, but that is parking. So I thought, for the sake of a few quid, these were, I can't remember how much I bought them for, but they're 1 7/8 of an inch diameter, and there's 8 in a bag, and it won't have been much. It'll have been of like a few quid, like maybe £6 or £7. But yeah, so if you're parking, you wrap your threads around them, snap it shut, and it keeps them sort of in a nice orderly fashion rather than them all dangling together. So that was one of the things. So you'll see where this is leading into potentially. I mentioned those last time, to be fair. I didn't have them though, I don't think. I did. No, I don't think I did. And then I did a 1, 2, 3 stitch order because they had a nice variety of pens, like washout, water erasable marking pens. So I've got a teeny tiny blue a regular blue, and then a white one as well to try out. So I got white on because I stitched quite a lot on black fabric for gridding, and then a Snag nabbit because they had them in stock and they were a decent price and I wasn't going to get stung with customs for it. So that is, I wouldn't go as far as to say once, but the thought process was when, not if, when I start stitching on Finding Fantasy, if I want to try Royal Rose or parking or anything like that, then I have the stuff to be able to do it with. And if I have the stuff to do it with and I decide I don't like doing it like that, then I can just pass those on to a home that will sort of use them. So yeah, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, I know I've just got options, but in reality I'll probably just end up going cross country, possibly in diagonals, maybe to make it a bit more structured, and let's face it, to help with the counting, because apparently I suck at counting. But hey ho. Anyway, so they're the sort of the little bits I got. The other things I got, they're downstairs, but it's just the rest of the threads for the Dragon Stitch Along by Climbing Goat Designs. I got those from Alison957 on eBay. I'll link them. It's quite really competitive prices for DMC and free delivery when you only want a handful of threads. So there are places that are probably a bit cheaper, but it's free shipping if it's over X amount, whereas I only needed a few colours to sort of top up what I already had. So yeah, I got those from there. I paid a tiny bit more per thread, but got free shipping, so it sort of balanced itself out there. So there we go. That's purchases. That's short and sweet. Plans probably will be short and sweet. Not as short and sweet though as purchases was. So short-term plans in terms of sort of February into March, I am going to work on the crystallized stitch along to completion, hopefully before the middle of April. Now, I've not stitched on it in February, but Stitch Pal I use Pattern Keeper for my digital patterns in terms of like crossing things off and helping me to stitch. But I like Stitch Pal, so even though I use Notion, the Notion website and databases as like my tracking in like my style and that kind of thing, I like I like Stitch Pal because it sort of gives you the estimated I have a love-hate relationship because it gives you dates if you keep up with your current rate of stitching, and also you can set a target date and it tells you how many stitches you need to use per day, so you can see how that goes with some things. So it either gives you news that you want or news that you don't want. Like Finding Fantasy, I don't want that news. So I'm currently stitching 319 stitches a day, and it thinks at the minute I'll finish this on the 31st of March. So if I keep up that pace, then that's absolutely fine. And on wherever I put it, that on crystallized stitch along, I can do 300 stitches a day or equivalent or a bit more quite easily within my evening allotted stitchy time. It won't leave much time for anything else, but in addition to that, I'd like to finish the Odyssey stitch along, and I would like to start the Dragon stitch along. So the Dragon stitch along is Climbing Goat Designs. I think JC will probably just put an image up when I mentioned it previously. And part 1 has been released, which is the frame, and part 2 is due the middle of February, I believe. Got it on my Notion. Has my Notion reloaded? It has. Okay, so oh no, actually it's the 10th of February, part 2. So I'm a wee bit behind on that. As of the 10th of February I will be, because we're currently in the part 1 sort of time, but it's okay. My priority is my crystallize, which means that that's probably what you're going to see over the next floss tube or 2. I'm quite enjoying being monogamous with a switch out stitch along, so like just bounce, like having one main project then having like a side project. I think that's just kind of the stitching season that I'm in. I was talking with Tam about this So Tan's the monogamous stitcher, and we've sort of got a similar, I was going to say ethic, workflow. Like one main, in terms of, I used to be fully monogamous, but I'm not particularly anymore, but I'm sort of sliding back into it, where I have a main project and then I might just flit off on a side project in terms of it's a stitch along I want to keep up with, or I get burnt out on my main project, I might switch to like one more thing, and that's sort of Tan's stitching style as well. So it's quite nice, and I'm slipping back into that, I think, rather than having lots of different things on the go. I want, even though I've said I only want 5 finishes this year, I'm quite interested in getting rid of stuff, in terms of either finishing it, starting it and finishing it, or just writing it off and doing a bit of like, I don't know, maybe ditch or stitch, because there are some things that like I've had planned for years and years, and actually I'm looking at them every time and I'm not choosing them. So I might have sort of a bit of a look at those kind of things later in the year, and we'll have a look together and we'll just be like, either right, we're either doing it or we're not doing it, and see how that looks. So in terms of long-term plans, not really many changes from what I thought they'd be. So I want to work on like cryptids. I don't know if JC's going to pop up things I'm saying them. So cryptids, finding fantasy, epic Pokemon. I want to finish my Lola Crow stitch along, because there's going to be another Lola Crow stitch along, so that's going to be part of my future plans. I want to finish my Bulbasaur song lyrics, and yeah, there will be new starts in there, but I'm not sure what's going to happen. I'm definitely going to try and stash dive where I can for things that I've already got kitted, rather than buying all the new things. Although I'm not going to stop buying all the new things if I like them, because yeah, what I will try and do is be more selective this year, because I already need to live like 3 lifetimes, maybe more. So yeah. Anyway, in terms of plans, stitchy plans, that's it. And I know lots of people like to, well, some people might have like ditched before this, but I know some people like to break off before the life stuff. But I just want to talk about non-stitchy but adjacent like channel plans maybe, and differences. So I've been thinking, in terms of like Flosstube adjacent, I've been thinking more about doing sort of like stitch with me's and lives, or streaming for stitching. So we have plenty of streaming set up in this house, so I could go live on either YouTube or Twitch or both, or so that's sort of like options I've been thinking about. And right at the beginning of probably the first Flosstube, although I'm not going back and not watching it again, although from the like the shot, like the view of it, come on, what's it called, where you just take a screenshot and that's your picture for that video, you know what I mean. Anyway, my hair looks really good in that one, so I'll be thinking about that's not a plan. Anyway, so that would be the only reason I'd watch my previous Flosstubes, to get hair inspiration, because I liked the red hair. But anyway, I did mention that this channel might end up having some other content in it, so non-stitchy content, so maybe doing like some gaming or some vlogs and that kind of thing. And that's just something that's entered my head a bit more recently as well. It's something I'm considering like more and more, so I think it potentially might happen. And we're not talking like tomorrow or drastic changes, or I'm stopping doing Flosstubes, because I really enjoy doing them in my stitching, but I miss my gaming. I don't game as much as I want to, and when I do game, I sort of want, not all of it, but I want to see how that would look if I streamed it maybe. So yeah, if that happens, I'll clearly label everything and you'll know what's a Flosstube and what's not. But I guess I just wanted like to float that, like, I don't know, thoughts, opinions. I mean, I know it's my channel, and you know, lots of people have said before, your channel, do what you want, but I feel like it's our channel and our space, and I don't want to massively put anyone off that. So if I did do it, the Flosstubes would be definitely labelled as Flosstubes, and then you could just, I mean, you're more than welcome to watch anything else that I put out, but I know some people won't want that. I was also, I mean, I just talked to my mum on the phone, and my mum really enjoys talking about what I'm stitching on, and I obviously can't tell her about the crystallized stitch along. She doesn't know I do these videos, she doesn't know anything about this channel, but at some point I was going to cough maybe about this. As soon as I say it, she's going to want to watch the video, so it's got to be after I finish the presents for her, and then we're sort of limited. If I do stitch any more presents for her, she's probably going to see that, so I might cause myself a slight issue here. However, my mum, my craftiness comes from my mum, and I didn't know whether it'd be worth going up in my mum's loft, which is, let's face it, JC's going to like climb ladders with the spiders and things, because as much as I don't mind spiders, ladders maybe not. Trying to pull some of my old projects out, like my old projects out, but then talking to my mum about like her crafty experiences and what she's enjoyed doing and that kind of thing. So I didn't know if anyone would be interested in that. I mean, I'll do it. I mean, I see my mum anyway, I can talk to her about it, but I thought it might be quite cool to, even if she doesn't want to like be on video, like talk to her about it on video and see what's what there. I don't know, just thoughts anyway. So if you're here just for plans and things, well, if you've not ditched out by now and you're not bothered about life stuff, thank you so much for watching, and I'll hopefully see you next time. If you're here for life stuff, there's not too much of it. Well, she says that, and then there ends up being like an hour-long video, so we'll see. Yeah, life stuff. So we were at a point last video, Flosstube 13, JC hadn't seen the hospital again about what to do, like what the next steps were for his hand. So JC's going to have more surgery at some point. That's a definite now. We know that. It's probably going to be, well, they said they wouldn't touch him, like that was her words. We're not going to touch you for at least a couple of months, because they want to make sure his scar is fully healed. That's probably because they're going to go back in through that scar to work out what's going on, because he's got limited movement in his index finger. But that's looking like a nailed on definite that's going to happen. So whether it happens like immediately at the 6 month point, so that'd be March, in terms of, yeah, March, in terms of his journey with his hand, that's going to happen. We're not quite sure what's going on with it still. They've taken x-rays and the surgeon thinks one thing but the physio thinks another thing, so they've got x-rays, they'll figure it out. So yeah, that's going to happen. I have had my hair cut, which I know I've said needs to grow again, and it possibly needs to not be this colour next time. It's really off-putting. I don't know. Right, so life stuff. I am tired. I am so tired. I've mentioned before about like potential medication the doctors have put me on and stuff, and I've managed to dodge the migraine meds because the piercing's still working. Like Daith piercing for migraines, try it. Honestly, I've only had 2 days where I've had something, and that's the days after the doctors were poking around in my eyes after the last video, and like it made me really light sensitive and my head started banging. But after that sort of wore off after a few days, I've had nothing since, and I don't care if it's placebo effect, it's working. So yeah, Daith piercing, migraines, worth a shot. It's working for me, touch wood, so far. But yeah, I've been going to the gym. So I've mentioned it previously, if you watch previous videos, I have fibromyalgia and CFS, ME. So either through pain or fatigue, I'm normally knackered, like really tired. But the issue is, I'm not happy carrying extra weight, like as in how I look, my self-confidence, but it also has a negative impact on my medical conditions, and my body works better when I'm not carrying any extra weight. The issue being, you shouldn't exercise like a regular person. Who is a regular person? You shouldn't exercise in what you consider a normal way, which is like increasing things, because you get post-exertion malaise. Like you get tired after doing it, and it compounds itself. So I've been working with a lovely lady at the doctor's, and I'm now working with a lovely lady at the gym to sort of work out what I can do, and get myself going again. Because at the minute my mobility isn't where I want it to be. My hands aren't great, my feet aren't great in terms of like stability when I'm walking. It's been better. So yeah, I'm working with lots of lovely people who are helping me with that, but I feel like at the minute it's just trying to finish me off, because I'm just so tired with it. But the issue is I'm doing like 2 hours at the gym, but I'm not doing 2 hours at the gym. I'm doing weights, and I'm doing like a ridiculous amount of rest in between, a ridiculous amount of rest time in between each thing, and I'm taking like massive pauses. So I might only be doing like sort of like half an hour's worth of stuff or 40 minutes worth of stuff, but actually they're spreading that across a long time for me because they don't want me to just go like bang, 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 bang and like sort of put undue stress on my body. So I'm doing that twice a week. And the issue is, yeah, I could break it up and go like over a few days, but it takes me and do less over more days, but it takes me so long to recover. And it doesn't matter if I do 10 minutes or 2 hours, like my body treats it the same. So I'll have the same level of tiredness and like fatigue and pain, like as well as like not just exercise, like DOMS pain, like delayed onset muscle soreness. I will have the same pain from my medical conditions as what I will have if I do it more frequently but less of it. So it's just easy to just do it in like bigger stints and take a longer time over it. But crikey, I'm feeling it at the moment. I'm just so dry, like in terms of I need drinks and things because my body is sucking all the moisture into my muscles to try and fix them. So yeah, that's the thing. I've got a review for that on the 12th, I think, so we'll see how I'm going with that. I've got doctors and the gym lady for a review, yeah, on the 12th, so we'll see how I'm going with that. I've had a green light to make the house move ready, potentially, so 2025 might be the year of moving, so we'll see. But there's a lot of work to do in 2024 to get the house to that point because it's, yeah. And the garden. We do look after the house, but we haven't done much work on it, and it's not like it's a fixer-upper, but it needs a bit of TLC, so we'll be gradually working my way around the house with JC to sort that out. We've got the front garden to sort out. We got some stuff for the front garden, which is good. So we'll start from the JC. If we're starting from the outside, the back garden needs more TLC than the front garden does. The back garden's been a work in progress for quite some time. Other stuff, reading, watching, listening to, as my friend Carrie would say. Carrie's DNA Geek Crafts. Yeah, go check her out. She's had a few new subscribers recently, and she deserves a lot more than what she's got. She's amazing, so go check Carrie out. DNA Geek Crafts, I'll link underneath, along with the rest of my Crafty Coven, who are also lovely, and go check those out as well. Fantastic people who are amazing friends. So, other stuff. I've done no reading for my 2024 reading challenge, but we've got time. It's only February, or I've got time for a repeat in December 2024, and binge reading, binge listening to audiobooks again, 52 of them. So yeah, that's a fail. I've mostly been watching Twitch and listening to some of the people who I enjoy watching on Twitch when I've been stitching, rather than Flosstube, but I've obviously done a bit of Flosstube watching as well. Watch Crafty Yams and try to keep up with a few people. I did start watching start watching a few things, but one of the things I think was worth mentioning is the Lost Symbol on Sky. So I think it's probably been out a while and I've just like missed the boat on it, but it's based on the Dan Brown books, and it's an early Robert Langdon, like the Da Vinci Code character, and it's a series based on him. So his mentor gets kidnapped because of a secret the mentor knows, and Robert's obviously got to figure it out, but it's got quite a good twist. I've not finished it yet, but the twist was quite cool. I'm like 7 episodes maybe into a 10-parter. So the Lost Symbol on Sky, if you like Da Vinci Code if you like mysteries and that kind of thing, and you've got access to Sky, or you can get it via Now TV or whatever, dodgy box or what have you. That for me, that I'm quite enjoying that, so I thought I'd mention that as a recommendation. In terms of next Flosstube plans then, wrapping it up, I don't know. I've got the Neon Goth box here that I've still not opened. It's been quite a while now, so I'm going to do that now. Not like now, but I'll do that now, and then I'll get that video up there. I quite like to do a stitch with me, although like I'm all set up in here rather than downstairs, so I don't know, might do that, but I don't know what it'd be on. Or is it 4th of February? It's a short month. I'll try and do an update, I think, in the middle of the month, and it might just be crystallized stitch along. Oh no, maybe if I do a middle of the month update, we might have finished Odyssey stitch along. I'll do that, and then we can see where crystallized stitch along is at and whether I'm on track with that. So let's do that. Let's aim for a middle of the month one, Neon Goth box opening, and then maybe a stitch along, but I'll do a wrap up as well at the end of February too, because end of February, beginning of March is my Flosstube anniversary. I've never been around for a Flosstube anniversary. I've always, yeah, there have been issues, mostly with my head. However, I've never turned up to my own Flosstube anniversary, and this is the 3rd one, or it will be the 3rd one, so we'll definitely do something for that. But anyway, thank you so much if you've stuck with me up until this point. I'm very grateful for you spending your time with me, and I hope you enjoy watching as much as I enjoy doing this and sort of just giving you all the information and the life stuff. Yeah, I do enjoy this. I do enjoy it, but I enjoy the interactions as well, and the comments and talking to people. I do really do that. I do really enjoy doing that, and yeah, I get a lot out of it, so I hope you get something out of this too. So take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time, and it won't be too long.